Hello again. One of the things which I love about the progressive and left-wing view of the world is that it makes me feel nostalgic about the past. A lot of what I see these days in Britain puts me in mind of the old Soviet Union and its allies. The slogans are so vague and well-meaning and wishy-washy that although they actually say nothing at all, only a heartless bastard would disagree with them. You know the kind of thing. Forward with the people, or peace and freedom for all. Obviously, few of us are in favour of war and slavery, so we can hardly disagree with the sentiments expressed. Here's a recent iteration of this tendency. It's a book for children under the age of 11 called A Peaceful World. Well, of course, we all want a peaceful world. What's the problem with that? You'll observe from the cover that being peaceful is somehow bound up with homosexuality. Observe the rainbow flag. It also involves apparently supporting the British CND. You can see their slogan there, the symbol. American viewers may not be aware that this is, by the way, this is a Communist Front organisation. And look, here's the United Nations. What does it say about the United Nations? It says, United Nations, an organisation with many member countries that works for world peace and development. Well, some of us think there's a little more to be said about the United Nations than that. A lot of the book is really directed towards teachers, giving them ideas for things such as debates where neither side wins and non-competitive games, that kind of thing. Some of what is said, though, is odd, and some actually consists of deliberate lies. Here's an example of something which is odd, considering that it is aimed at children under the age of 11. In the glossary here, it gives a definition of sexual orientation. Do remember that this book is intended for children under the age of 11, by the way. Sexual orientation describes someone's feelings of attraction, whether that is to women, men, or non-binary people, those who don't feel they are entirely woman or man. Okay, I think I'm pretty well up to date about sexuality. I'm not a little bit of a prude, and I know most sexual inclinations and proclivities, but I have never, in the whole course of my life, heard of people who are attracted specifically to hermaphrodites, transsexuals, and those who are conflicted about their gender identity. It sounds to me a bit like a sexual kink. I quite understand homosexuals, and I've no problem or objection to anybody changing their external appearance to match that of the opposite sex. But if I met somebody who was specifically attracted to intersex people, I would raise my eyebrows. I looked into this, by the way, and I found that there is a term for this. It's scoliosexual, but that it is very controversial, even among the most right-on types. I'm bound to say that if I knew somebody who only got off being with people who are neither fully male or female, it would put me in mind a little of the sort of characters who have fetishes for amputees and so on. It is distinctly odd to find this in a children's book. Now here's an example of downright lies being told for what is meant to be a worthy purpose. On page 22, we have this, Making Change Happen, Indian Independence. It's a double-page spread, and it's supposed to be a perfect example of how to resolve conflicts peacefully. Okay, we are told about the forced British rule in India and how Gandhi struggled against it peacefully. Then we have this. Talking of Gandhi and his movement for independence, one of the movement's great achievements was that so many supporters from India's different religions worked together peacefully for independence, despite the long history of conflict between them. The united effort helped the protesters to win their long fight in 1947, when India gained independence and finally became free of British rule. Okay, this is almost beyond belief. In the 1920s, the Muslim League were already demanding a separate Muslim homeland, which they achieved when Pakistan was formed at the same time that Indian independence was declared. United effort? Working together peacefully? I am guessing that the author of this book knows about the shocking and dreadful communal violence which preceded the granting of independence to India. I notice that she avoids mentioning the founding of Pakistan because that would spoil the image which she is trying to paint of peaceful cooperation against the wicked British. Becoming, as the book says, free of British rule is shown as a wonderful and good thing, achieved by peaceful means and cooperation between Hindus and Muslims. You observe that nothing is said about the partition of India, a consequence of what was effectively a civil war between Muslims and Hindus. Just to give some idea of the scale of what is not said, between 2 and 3 million people were killed during the fighting before partition and during it, and around 14 million refugees were created. All this is hidden from sight so that the British rule in India can be shown as an evil thing which was overcome peacefully by cooperation between Hindus and Muslims. In fact, it was the British presence which had prevented the terrible slaughter between those two religions for so many years. This book is one of a series, by the way. It's to be found in practically every school library, every primary school library that is, and it includes such catchy titles as Culture and Diversity, and of course, We're All Equal. Small children are being taught a horribly and deliberately misleading view of history, one which fits in with and promotes a certain left-wing perspective. By the time they are adults, most kids have been indoctrinated with this sort of thing for between 10 and 12 years.